Hello to all. So today's my topic is distribution of drugs. This is the second part of pharmacokinetics. So previously we have studied about absorption. Absorption means it is the movement of drug from the site of administration into the systemic circulation. So for absorption, first the drug should cross this barrier and then this vascular barrier, and then readily absorption occurs. So this was absorption. Next, what is distribution? As the names only implies, the drug is getting distributed. And where the drug may get distributed? Yes, the drug is getting distributed from the vascular compartment to various organs of our body. Like we take an example of liver. Suppose the drug needs to get distributed in the liver. So for getting distributed over here, first the drug should cross this barrier and then the barrier of the liver wall, and then readily the drug will get moved to the liver. So this is distribution. So in general you can say drug distribution is the process by which a drug reversibly leaves the bloodstream and enters the interstitium, that is the extracellular fluid, and then the cells of the tissues. So this is distribution. For a drug administered via intravenous route, when absorption is not a factor, the initial phase represents the distribution phase, during which a drug rapidly disappears from the circulation and enters into the tissues. Okay, so here in IV route, the absorption is not a factor over here. The first step will be distribution as such. Next, the extent and pattern of distribution of a drug mainly depends upon, first of all, lipid solubility. Yes, lipophilicity. As I have told you, it needs to cross the barriers. For distribution also, first it should cross the barrier of the vascular compartment, and then if, like I gave an example of liver, for getting distributed in the liver also, it needs to cross the membrane, the biological membrane of the liver also. So for crossing the membrane, the drug should have a very good lipophilicity, or you can say lipid solubility. Next, ionization at physiological pH is also important, as we have seen in this thing in our previous video in the absorption only. An acidic drug, when it is present in acidic environment, it will be lipophilic, but acidic drug in a basic environment, it will become hydrophilic and it cannot cross the membrane. So distribution will be a great question mark over here. Similarly, basic drug in basic environment, distribution will be okay, but basic drug in an acidic environment, it will not undergo distribution because it will be becoming hydrophilic in nature. So ionization at physiological pH is also of a great matter. Next, the extent of binding to plasma and tissue protein, presence of tissue specific transporters, and differences in regional blood flow. These three things we'll see one by one in this video. So we'll start with the plasma protein binding. So what exactly happens over here, we'll see. Here I have shown you a diagram. On the left side is the blood vessel and on the right side there is a liver. Okay, I'm taking a liver as an example of organ. Instead of liver, there are various other organs also, like brain is there, kidney is there, heart is there. I am taking an example of liver. Now there is any drug which is highly lipophilic in nature, it can readily cross the barrier and distribution will be occurring in a very smooth manner. But lipophilic drug which is of a bigger size, it cannot cross the membrane and distribution cannot occur. Now you will be thinking, how come? Because distribution occurs after absorption. For absorption also, the drug molecules needs to cross the barriers, and for distribution also the drug needs to cross the barrier. Now I am talking about a lipophilic drug of a bigger size. How come absorption has been occurred, but in case of distribution, means after absorption, how come the size of the drug has been increased? So this is a very big question, because for absorption occurs, but after absorption the size of the drug has been increased and distribution cannot occur. The reason behind that is, in our blood, we know the blood is made up of two components, that is, one is plasma and another one is the blood cells. In the plasma, there is a thing known as the plasma proteins. So, plasma proteins plays a very vital role in increasing the size of the drug. Now, suppose this is your blood vessel, and in our blood, plasma is there, and in plasma, plasma proteins are being present. And whenever you consume any drug, after absorption, the drug will appear in the blood. So there are a few drugs that have got a very high affinity to bind with the plasma protein. Okay, and there are few drugs which are not bound to the plasma protein. So the drug that are being bonded to the plasma protein are known as bound drug, and the drug which are not bonded to the plasma protein are known as free drug. So the free drug, they can easily cross the barrier, and distribution will not a big deal for the free drug. But when you talk about bond drug, the bond drug are bonded to the plasma protein, they cannot cross the barrier of this vascular wall, and they are not available for distribution. So this implies whenever a drug is binding to a plasma protein, the size of this drug is getting increased, and whenever the size of the drug is increased, it cannot cross the barrier, it cannot cross the wall of the blood vessel. Why? Because the size of the drug has been increased. Okay, so this is what is known as plasma protein binding. So any drug which has been bonded with a plasma protein, the size of the drug increases, and once the size of the drug increases, it cannot cross the barrier of the blood vessel. Next, the drug which is acidic in nature, they are mainly binding with the albumin, which is a plasma protein, and any basic drug, it is mainly binding to the alpha 1 acid glycoprotein, which is also a type of plasma protein. So, extent of binding depends on the individual compound. No generalization for a pharmacological or chemical class can be made. Next, suppose this is a blood vessel containing plasma protein, and after absorption, large amount of drug has been appearing in the blood. And suppose this drug have got a very good plasma protein binding, and it has bonded with almost all the plasma protein. Now you can see all the plasma protein has been saturated. Saturated means all are being occupied by the drug. After this, again, if you are taking drug, now it has been available for distribution. So this implies whenever you are consuming any drug which is having a very good plasma protein binding affinity, so most of the drug will bind to the plasma protein, and once the plasma protein are getting saturated, the leftover drug which is not for which the plasma protein is not available, they are now available for getting distributed. So this implies the plasma protein binding will produce a low distribution, it will reduce the distribution. Okay, suppose suppose imagine there would be no plasma protein, means all the drug will be available for distribution. So because of the plasma protein, the drug is getting bonded to the plasma protein, and very less drug is available for distribution. So plasma protein binding is reducing the distribution, or you can say low distribution. Next thing, a bound drug is always in equilibrium with the free drug. Okay, now 50% of the drug is always bound, and 50% of the drug is now free. Okay, so suppose in the free drug, suppose few molecules undergone metabolism, so now it is not equal. So for making it equal, a drug which was bonded to the plasma protein will get released, and it will become free, and once it is free, it will move to get distributed. Okay, so whenever any free drug is getting metabolized, one drug which was stored in the plasma protein, it will be moved towards the free form. Okay, so this implies that the plasma protein, its work is not to just capture the drug, but plasma protein are just like a storage house for the drug. Whenever the free drug is getting metabolized and eliminated, more drug is then provided by the plasma protein. So this implies that plasma protein binding is increasing the duration of action. Like suppose you have consumed any drug, and that drug is not bonded to the plasma protein, so that 100% of the drug will get distributed, and immediately it will get metabolized and eliminated. But because of plasma protein binding, slowly the drug is getting freed off. So once the drug is freed from the plasma protein, it will be then available for distribution. And after distribution, there will be metabolism and then elimination. So plasma protein here is acting as a storage house for the drug. Slowly the drug is getting released. Once few drug are getting metabolized and eliminated, and then slowly a few other drug are getting released from the plasma protein, then they are getting metabolized and eliminated, and then slowly and another part of the drug is getting released from the plasma protein. So basically any drug which is having a very good plasma protein binding, the duration of the action can be prolonged. And next, suppose over here we have consumed a drug such as warfarin. Okay, suppose this is a warfarin, and warfarin is having a very good plasma protein binding affinity. So it is bonded to a particular kind of plasma protein. Now, after consuming warfarin, suppose an individual is facing some kind of bacterial infection and he consumed another drug, that is sulfonamide. But unfortunately, what happens, both sulfonamide as well as warfarin have got a same site of attachment for the plasma protein. And where warfarin has been attached over here, same is the site for sulfonamide. So basically what is happening over here, both warfarin and sulfonamide are now fighting for the binding site of the plasma protein. And suppose sulfonamide is present in higher amount, it will kick off the warfarin from its binding site. So this is known as displacement reaction. See, both warfarin as well as sulfonamide have got a very good plasma protein binding. Warfarin, suppose it has got 99% of plasma protein binding. This implies whenever you are consuming 100 molecules of warfarin, 99 molecules are getting bonded to the plasma protein, and only 1% of the warfarin is available for its action. And this is only required. Only 1% should be present every time for its action. If instead of 1%, 2%, 5% or 10% of warfarin is present for its action, it will lead to toxic action, toxic effect. Okay, anything in large amount is very bad for our body. So normally for producing normal action of warfarin, we require just 1%. But when you are giving warfarin along with sulfonamide, sulfonamide is likely to displace the warfarin from its plasma protein binding site. So this implies the entire 100% of the warfarin is now available for producing action. So instead of producing a normal therapeutic action, warfarin in so much high amount altogether getting distributed will produce a toxic action. So this is known as displacement reaction. Here sulfonamide has been displaced warfarin from its plasma protein binding site. Next thing about plasma protein binding over here is you need to know about dialysis. So what is dialysis? So basically any person whose kidneys are not functioning properly. So normally what is the role of kidney? For purify the blood. But when kidneys are not performing their job efficiently, in that case we need some external machinery for purification of blood, and that external purification of blood is known as dialysis. Now dialysis is not only used for purification of blood when kidneys are not working. Dialysis can also be used for removing any poison that any person has been consumed. Okay, so that poison has moved to the blood circulation and we need to purify the blood so that the poison has to be removed. So basically what is happening over here in dialysis, the blood is being moved via a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, now the problem over here is our poison is having a very high plasma protein binding ability. As I have shown here in the diagram, there is a blood vessel in brown, as I have made in my previous slides also, plasma protein in brown color, and in black color I have made a poison. Since it is a poison, I have made it in a black star. So this poison have got a very high affinity for plasma protein. And now if we are doing dialysis, it will not cross the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, like same in case like you are making a tea and you are filtering it via a semi-permeable membrane. That chutney is nothing but a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, so After filtering, what happens, all the tea powder will get remain above the membrane, okay, and that will be throwing off. Similarly happens over here. The plasma protein, since it is of a bigger size, it will remain on the upper side of the semi permeable membrane, and all the blood will get filtered off. But the thing is, plasma protein is normally in a bigger size. It will never undergo the filtration process. It will never cross the semi permeable membrane, and this is not a good thing. After getting dialysis, there will be just a blank blood cells will be there and some plasma will be there. It will not there won't be any plasma protein available, okay, and that is not a good thing. Plasma protein will never undergo filtration process. Whatever dialysis we are doing, after dialysis we should put the plasma protein back to the blood circulation, because after dialysis it will not cross the semi permeable membrane. The plasma protein will never cross the semi permeable membrane, and we cannot throw the plasma proteins as such. Plasma protein is required for a huge amount of functions, so we should put the plasma protein back. And this is our misfortune, that the poison is having a plasma protein binding and it will happily come back into your blood. So we cannot remove the poison by dialysis when the poison have got a very good plasma protein binding. So this implies plasma protein binding will make dialysis inefficient, okay. So here we were using dialysis for removal of poison, but poison, since it is having a very good plasma protein binding, even after dialysis it will come back into your blood, because we are putting the plasma protein back into your blood. So regarding plasma protein, you can remember these four factors as 4Ds, like D for distribution low, D for duration of action prolonged, D for displacement reaction, and D for dialysis inefficient. So this is about the plasma protein binding. Next thing that you should know, the second thing that you should know regarding distribution is barriers. See, because in distribution the drug needs to cross various barriers. Now I'm taking a simple example of a liver, like how the drug is about to move from the vascular compartment, that is your blood circulation, into your liver. So we'll just zoom up this part and we'll have an image somewhat like this. Now here you can see in the vascular part, the endothelium has got so much of fenestration over there, okay. Fenestration means in between the endothelial cells so much gaps are there. Those gaps are known as fenestration. So whenever any drug is present in the vascular compartment, via this fenestration they can easily cross it and they will get easily distributed in the liver. So this is normally occurring for almost maximum organ, except one organ, that is our brain. Our brain have got blood-brain barrier. So blood-brain barrier, simply there is a barrier in between the blood circulation and your brain, okay. So the blood vessels which are supplying the blood to the brain are somewhat like this. You can see the endothelial cells, they are tightly attached. They are very much fixed in between. So there is no fenestration. This is known as tight junction. Tight junction means here the endothelial cells are very tightly attached, and in between some protein molecules are there which are sealing it exactly, very much perfectly. Plus in the brain side you will have something like this. These are known as astrocytes. Astrocytes are there with their foot processes which are fixed there to avoid the entry of anything. So if you're putting any drug inside your body, those drug is getting distributed to almost all the organs, but there is a condition for any drug to cross this blood brain barrier. See, this blood brain barrier, basically it is made up of the food processes of the astrocytes and the tight junctions of the endothelial cells of the blood circulation, okay, or your blood vessel. So any drug that needs to cross this blood brain barrier, it should be either very much lipophilic in nature, or some special kind of transporters, or you can say the carrier proteins should be there for transporting the drug. As such, any drug cannot cross this blood brain barrier, okay. So there are only two rules, only two ways by which any drug can cross the blood brain barrier. Two conditions, you can say. The first condition is Either it should be highly lipophilic in nature, or there should be some special transporters, or you can say the carrier proteins available for transporting the drug from blood to your brain. Okay, so blood brain barrier is basically present all around your brain as well as your spinal cord. But there are some areas where this blood brain barrier is broken. So those areas are known as circumventricular areas. So you can see over here the subformical organum vasculorum of the lamina terminalis, your pituitary, area postrema, and pineal body. So these all are the areas where the blood-brain barrier is broken. That implies the drug, either it is lipophilic or hydrophilic, it can easily cross this area and it can enter into your blood and will likely to produce some kind of action. So one of the action that you can see is in the area postrema. Okay, in the left side below, area postrema is written. Here there is an area known as chemoreceptor trigger zone. So whenever this chemoreceptor trigger zone will get activated, it will lead to nausea and vomiting. And this only you can see as a side effect of various drugs. See, any drug, there are large amount of drug. Whenever you consume those drugs, nausea and vomiting may occur as a side effect. So why this nausea and vomiting occur? Because this drug is likely to cross the membrane, that is the blood brain barrier, and it is likely to activate the chemoreceptor trigger zone, in response to which nausea and vomiting occur. So this is regarding the blood brain barrier and the circumventricular areas of the brain. Now we will talk about the next barrier, that is blood placental barrier. See, these placental membranes are lipoidal and allow free passage of lipophilic drugs while restricting the hydrophilic drugs. Plus, there is also transporters like P glycoprotein, which serves to limit the fetal exposure of maternal administered drugs. Placenta is a site for drug metabolism as well, which may lower or modify exposure of fetus to the administered drug. However, the limited hydrophilic drugs, when they are present in high concentration or for a long period of time in the maternal circulation, they may gain access to the fetus. Plus, some influx transporters also operate at the placenta. Okay, but you can say this placenta is a kind of incomplete barrier. Okay, incomplete barrier, because almost all the drugs which has been consumed by the fetus, they are likely to cross the placental membrane or placental barrier and will likely to move to the fetus circulation or to the fetus site. You might be knowing that there are few drugs that are contraindicated in pregnancy. See, almost all the drugs can cross the placental barrier, but there are few drugs that are contraindicated. So what might be the reason over here? See, there are few drugs that can cross the barrier, but it will not produce any action on the fetus. But there are few drugs that crosses the barrier and likely to affect the fetus, so that fetus, after taking birth, they may come out with some kind of abnormalities. It might be physical abnormality, it might be mental abnormality, it might be any kind of metabolic abnormality. So whenever any drug which is consumed by a pregnant lady, and that drug is going to affect the fetus, so that baby is been born with some kind of abnormality, such kind of drug is known as teratogenic drugs, and this phenomena is known as teratogenicity. Okay, teratogenicity means any drug which is crossing the blood-brain barrier and it is affecting the fetus, so that baby is taking birth with some kind of abnormality, is known as teratogenicity. And such drugs that are producing teratogenicity are known as teratogenic drugs. A very simple example of teratogenicity is thalidomide. Thalidomide is a teratogenic drug. Previously, it was used for morning sickness. Like normally, pregnant ladies are been suffering from morning sickness. Morning sickness means morning time there will be lots and lots of vomiting and nausea. So, preventing them, thalidomide was being prescribed by various doctors. But these thalidomide they can easily cross the barrier of this placenta and they are likely to affect the fetus, so that the baby is born with some kind of abnormality, and that problem is known as phocomelia, also known as seal limbs. So you people might be knowing seal. This is a seal, and the baby is born just like a seal limbs of a seal, like this. So this is a baby. This baby's mom has taken thalidomide, and that thalidomide has affected the limbs of this baby. So now this baby is suffering from phocomelia. It is also known as seal limbs, since the limbs appears just like seal animal. So this is about the blood placental barrier. Next we'll talk about redistribution. Okay, the next topic is redistribution. Till now we have discussed about plasma protein binding. Second, we have discussed about barrier. Now the third topic of distribution is redistribution. Now we know first absorption happens. Absorption means movement of drug from the site of administration into the blood circulation, and that is absorption. After absorption, distribution should occur. But now how the drug should know that where it should get distributed? Drug does not have its brain. It does not move anywhere wherever it want. So where the drug should get distributed? This is a very big question. See, drug will get flow off along with the blood. See, there are few organs of our body which are highly vascular. Highly vascular means those organs which are getting a very good blood supply. Similarly, there are few organs which are getting very poor blood supply. Those organs are known as poorly vascular organs, or poorly perfused organs. Okay, we have got highly perfused organs and poorly perfused organs. Highly perfused organs means organs which are getting a very good blood supply, like brain. It is getting a very good blood supply. Heart is getting very good blood supply. Kidneys are getting very good blood supply. So these organs are known as highly perfused organs or richly perfused organs, because in these organs there is a very good blood supply, there is a very good blood flow. Similarly, there are few organs which are poorly perfused organs, like fat, your adipose tissue, and your muscles. So these organs are getting poor blood supply. So it is said that wherever the blood supply is more, blood flow will be more, and along with blood, the flow of drug will also be more in these areas. Okay, so previously we did absorption. So after absorption, the drug is getting distributed to highly perfused organs such as brain, heart, and kidney. So this is known as distribution. Distribution means it is movement of the drug from your blood circulation to various organs. So this is distribution, because blood has been flowing into these area in a very good amount. Now after moving to these areas, now the drug tends to move the areas of poorly perfused drug. Okay, so the drug were here and now they are moving to other organs. So this is known as redistribution. Okay, so this was distribution. This was distribution and this is redistribution. Okay, this is redistribution. So basically redistribution means the drug is moving from the organ which were richly perfused to the organ which are now poorly perfused. So this is redistribution, and it is said that greater the lipid solubility of the drug, faster will be its redistribution. Okay, so normally distribution means moving of the drug from the blood circulation to various organs. Okay, from the vascular compartment to various organs of the body, that is distribution. Redistribution means movement of the drug which were highly perfused to the organ to are poorly perfused. Okay, so movement of the drug from highly perfused organ to the poorly perfused organ is redistribution. Now we will take a very simple example of redistribution, that is thiopentone sodium. See, here we are using thiopentone sodium as a hypnosis. Okay, and where does hypnotic action is been produced? What is the side of the action of thiopentone sodium? Obviously our brain. Okay, and since it is acting on our brain means this drug is obviously very much lipophilic in nature. It is having a very good lipid solubility. Now suppose we have consumed the drug, okay, it we have absorbed a drug. The absorption of this thiopental sodium has been completed. It is moved into your blood circulation. Okay, now from the blood circulation it will first get distributed. So where it is getting distributed? Yes, in the brain. And since it has got very lipid solubility, it will get redistributed very fastly to a less perfused organ. So the problem with thiopental sodium is it is having a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, but its duration of action is nearly 30 minutes to 1 hour. That means thiopental sodium will be remaining, it will be present in our body for around 6 hours, but it will produce its action only for 1 hour. Why? Because the action of thiopental sodium, that is hypnotic action, is produced when it is acting on the brain, and it is acting on the brain just for 1 hour. It is getting distributed to the brain and it will remain in brain just for 1 hour, and immediately it will get redistributed. Okay, immediately it will get redistributed to other poorly perfused organs. So this is known as redistribution. And since this drug, that is the thiopental sodium, is very much lipophilic in nature, its redistribution is very fast. Okay, so this is redistribution. Redistribution means it is the distribution of the drug from highly perfused organ to poorly perfused organ. That is redistribution. So this is about redistribution, and we have completed the third topic of our distribution. Next thing that you should know is regarding the calculation of distribution, and distribution is calculated under the heading of apparent volume of distribution, which is abbreviated as VD. So apparent volume of distribution is calculated as amount of drug in the body divided by concentration of the drug in plasma. So we will learn this thing with a very simple example. Suppose this is a vessel, and this vessel we have taken 5 liter of water. Okay, now here we are adding drug, nearly 100 mg of drug we have added. Next we will calculate the apparent volume of distribution. Apparent volume of distribution is amount of drug in the body, that is 100 mg we have taken, divided by concentration of drug in the plasma. Now for calculating this plasma concentration of the concentration of drug in plasma, we can calculate it with a simple formula. Plasma concentration equals to amount of drug divided by volume. Okay, so here amount of drug is 100 and volume is, we took 5 liter of water. So 100 divided by 5, we got 20 mg per liter. So plasma concentration is 20 mg per liter. Now we got concentration of the drug in the plasma. Now we can calculate VD very easily. So VD equals to amount of drug, that is 100 mg we took, divided by the concentration of the drug in plasma, that is the 20 mg per liter, and we got 5 liters. Okay, so volume of distribution in our this example is 5 liter. Now we will take a second example, similar thing. A vessel we took, and here also we have filled this vessel with 5 liter of water, but this water is not that much purified water, it is a kind of tap water. So you can find few microorganism over here. We added same amount of drug, that is 100 mg of drug is been getting added, but here these microorganisms are consuming these drugs. About 50% of the drug is getting consumed by these microorganisms. So next we will calculate the concentration of the drug in plasma. We will get amount of drug, that is 50 mg. We have added 100 mg of the drug, but 50% of the drug is getting consumed by the microorganism, and left over the amount of drug is just 50. So 50 divided by the volume of the water taken, that is 5 liter. So we got plasma concentration, or you can say concentration of the drug in plasma, as 10 mg per liter. Now we can calculate VD over here. VD, that is volume of distribution, that is amount of drug, that is 100 mg, divided by the concentration of drug in plasma, that we got 10. So it gives 10 liters of volume of distribution. So you can compare this example with the first example. In the first example we got volume of distribution as 5 liter. In the second example we got volume of distribution as 10 liters. So in second example we found VD is increased. That means whenever the drug is getting consumed by microorganism, the volume of distribution is getting increased. Now similarly we'll take a third example. Same vessel we took and we have added 5 liters of water over here, but this time this water is very dirty. It contains large amount of microorganism. Okay, now we have added same 100 mg of drug, and nearly 90% of the drug is getting consumed by these microorganisms, and just 10% of the drug has been left. So the concentration of the drug of the plasma in the plasma will be just 10%, means 10 mg has been left, divided by the volume, that is 5 liter of water. So we got 2 mg per liter of the plasma concentration. Now we will calculate VD, amount of drug, that is 100 divided by the concentration of the drug in plasma, we got 2, which gives 50 liters. So you can compare these three examples. In the third example, large amount of microorganisms are consuming the drug, so we got large volume of distribution. Whereas in the first example, there wasn't any microorganism. It was a very purified, filtered water. No microorganism is getting available. So all the drug is there present in the water itself. No drug is getting consumed by any kind of microorganism. So in first case, the volume of distribution was very low. Okay, so what you understood from this example now? Now you can assume the third example. The third example as our body. So this vessel is our body, and these microorganisms are our organs. So whenever you are consuming any drug, this drug is getting distributed, or they are getting consumed by various organs of our body. And when any drug is getting consumed by or getting distributed to various organs of our body, in that case the volume of distribution will be more. Okay, more the drug getting distributed to different organs of our body, more will be the volume of distribution. When the drug is not getting distributed, like our first example, when the drug is not getting consumed by microorganism, or you can say when our any drug is not getting distributed to different organs of our body, when the drug is there in the blood, in the water, or in the blood vascular compartment itself, at that time the volume of distribution is low. Okay, so high volume of distribution, it implies the drug is getting distributed to various organs of our body. Low volume of distribution, it implies that the drug is present in the vascular compartment only. Vascular compartment means it is present in the blood circulation only. It is not getting distributed to various organs of our body. Now this thing means same thing I have said you, any drug that has more volume of distribution, that implies it is largely getting distributed to various tissues and organs of our body. Now this thing we can take an example for understanding the volume of distribution. I took an example of chloroquine. So chloroquine is having a very high volume of distribution. I have given here 1300 liters, but actually its VD is more than 1300 liters. See, chloroquine is an anti-malarial drug. It is used for treating malaria. Now malaria is occurring because of plasmodium, and where does plasmodium stays? This plasmodium stays in our RBCs. So our main motive of this giving chloroquine is the chloroquine should move to the RBCs and it should kill the plasmodium. This is the main motive of chloroquine. But the problem with chloroquine is it is having a very high volume of distribution, that is 1300 liters, and the organ where it is getting distributed in that much amount is our liver. Okay, now suppose this is our blood circulation and this is our liver, and you have consumed chloroquine. See, normally just 100 molecules, means we'll assume that only 100 molecules of chloroquine is enough for killing the plasmodium of the RBCs. So now what we want with this drug chloroquine, we want that 100 molecules of chloroquine should go to the RBCs and it should destroy the plasmodium. This we want with this chloroquine. So accordingly we have consumed 100 molecules of chloroquine, but those 100 molecules, instead of moving to the RBCs, it is getting distributed to the liver. Now for this reason we took 200 molecules of chloroquine, and entire 200 molecules are been taken up or distributed in the liver. Now we consumed 300 molecules of chloroquine. An entire 300 molecules of chloroquine has been consumed by the liver. Similarly, we are increasing the amount of chloroquine. We have given 400 molecules, all the 400 move to liver. We have given 300 molecules of chloroquine, 500 molecules of chloroquine, all the 500 has been moved to the liver. Okay, and we are not getting 100 molecules of chloroquine in the RBCs only. Whatever we are giving chloroquine, all the chloroquine is getting distributed largely to the liver. But one time there will come that liver will not be able to accept amount any more further amount of chloroquine. Like now we have given 1,000 molecules of chloroquine, and among those 1,000 molecules of chloroquine, 900 molecules has getting consumed in the liver, and only 100 molecules is left in the blood circulation. And this was what we wanted. Now whatever 100 molecule has been left in the blood circulation, those 100 molecule, now it will go to the RBCs, and in the RBCs it will destroy the plasmodium. Now here you can see, just for presenting 100 molecules of chloroquine in the RBCs, we need to consume 1,000 molecules of chloroquine. That means for presenting 100 molecules of chloroquine to the RBCs, we need to load the liver with 900 molecules of chloroquine. After consuming 900 molecules of chloroquine by the liver, the limit of the liver has been completed. Now after 900 molecule, it cannot take any more molecule of chloroquine over there in the liver. Okay, so this means that for initiating the action of chloroquine, we need to give a higher dose of the chloroquine. That is known as a loading dose. So loading dose is calculated by the formula volume of distribution into target plasma concentration. So loading dose itself, it says that we need to load the organ. In this case, in case of chloroquine, we need to load the liver with high amount of chloroquine. So loading dose is mainly given for initiating the action of the dose or initiating the action of the drug. Now suppose we have taken the loading dose. Okay, we had consumed the 1,000 molecule of chloroquine. Among those 1,000 molecules, 900 moved to the liver, and we have made the mouth of the liver closed. Now we have shut it up the mouth of the liver. Now after consuming 900 molecules, it cannot consume any more amount of chloroquine. So that was loading dose. Now that 100 molecules which was left for acting on the RBCs, those 100 molecules may also undergo metabolism. Suppose 50% has undergone metabolism and only 50 molecules of the chloroquine is now left in the RBCs. But for action we require 100 molecules, and for this reason we need to maintain the 100 molecules of chloroquine in the RBCs. So for maintaining that 100 molecules, now we need to give the maintenance dose. So that maintenance dose is calculated by the formula maintenance dose equals to clearance into target plasma concentration. So maintenance dose does not depends upon the distribution. Okay, and in maintenance dose we does not want to load the drug anymore into the liver because the liver has completed its capacity. So maintenance dose is required just for maintaining the concentration of the drug in the site of the action. Okay, like we require 100 molecules. Among those 100 molecules, 50 molecules has undergone the metabolism. So we need to maintain 100 molecules only. For that maintenance of 100 molecules, we gave maintenance dose. And maintenance dose mainly depends upon the clearance, because among those 100 molecules, 50 molecules undergone metabolism, and after metabolism, it is followed by elimination. It is getting cleared off from our body. So maintenance dose mainly depends upon clearance. Okay, so that is maintenance dose. Loading dose is required for initiating the action of the drug, and maintenance dose is required for maintaining the action of the drug. So this is how we are calculating the distribution by apparent volume of distribution. Next we'll see some of the significance of distribution. Volume of distribution. High VD indicates high lipophilicity, or many receptors are present for drug. As I have told you, whenever any drug is having high volume of distribution, means it is getting distributed to various organs of our body. And for distribution, the preliminary requirement is lipophilicity. So any drug which is highly lipophilic in nature obviously it will get distributed to various organs of our body, and when it is getting distributed to various organs of our body, it implies that the volume of distribution is very high. Next, in overdose, the drug has low VD, are easily removed by hemodialysis. Obviously, whenever you are consuming any high amount of drug, the VD will be low because the drug, after getting distributed, little bit will be remaining in the blood circulation in the vascular compartment, and whatever drug is present in the vascular compartment, it can be removed by hemodialysis. But drugs having high VD are less available for dialysis because they get distributed in total body fluid. Okay, so any drug which is having very high VD, it can easily get distributed to various organs, and once those drugs are getting distributed in the organs, we cannot do hemodialysis because the drug is not there anymore in the vascular compartment. Lastly, it helps to calculate the loading dose. So these are various significance of apparent volume of distribution. So with this, I have completed the second section of the pharmacokinetics, that is distribution. I hope you liked this video, you understood this video. Thank you.